Alrighty, everybody, welcome back here to another edition of the Patterson Report. I'm Brandon. That's Ryan. I'm getting the hang of this,
We're getting there.
and we're going to switch things up a little bit this week. For the past, God, it feels like even including the off season, for the past like 4 months, we've always led heavy Eagles and kind of gotten to the Sixers, Phillies, Flyers when we had the time. Eagles season's over. So we're going to take advantage of a little bit of a break. Football never stops. We know that. It's a 12-month sport.
It is what's going on right now? The Senior Bowl and the Shrine Bowl. I think.
Yeah. So
That's
the
always
recruiting cycles year round. You still got the playoffs going on. We're not in them. But we'll take this immediate first week following the loss to catch up on what's going on around the complex. And I'm sure we'll make our way back to the Eagles as this one
always
goes along. But probably the biggest news in Philly, it started yesterday and today. Joel Embiid's knee, the peer pressure knee injury, as I've been calling it, as I'm hearing a lot of other people call it, he should never have been out on that court. There was absolutely no reason that he should have been out there. You watched him play the first quarter, and you could tell he wasn't moving right, he wasn't jumping right. He wasn't getting any lift under his shots the way there was just nothing about him that said he's 100%. And it is because of all the backlash he caught following the Nuggets game. He's ducking Jokic. I thought Mike Malone saying something about it was pretty corny. Like, you're a head coach in the NBA. You're supposed to be, on the side of player safety. You're not a media member.
Is Jokic out tonight?
Yes, he is.
Luka's
and it's completely normal.
So
dude, these are guys who are like 7'1", pushing high twos. They're going to need their reps. Their knees are going to get dinged up. I don't get the discourse around Embiid that when he sits, he's ducking. Nevertheless, I can't even put the blame on the general public because the Sixers organization needs to be the adult in the room. Like, somebody needed to shut Joel Embiid down and say, you're not going out there. It's not worth it. But no, we put him out there when he wasn't healthy. And now I got tweets from Woj coming in saying that, the Sixers have been concerned about his knee all season. He's been playing through pain. What we don't know yet is if he's playing through injury. And if it's a knee injury, then you're talking about he's out for a couple weeks. The team doesn't play well without him. Times aren't good at the Wells Fargo Center right now.
It was such a high too early in the season.
Like, early in the season, but he just beat the Nuggets not that long ago. He just
early
70.
in the season. It feels like a fever dream these first couple of months. I don't have an NBA calendar in my head. It's NFL, and then look at that first pitch.
Dude, let me catch you up. If he does in fact have a knee injury that he's working through, he just dropped 70 on a bum knee about 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, I think he did. And then I watched the game last night. To be fair, he was injured, but was the injury caused by the knee or just a freak thing? So I think it was a freak thing. Like, he was hurt. Don't get me wrong. I'm not excusing that he wasn't hurt.
Yeah.
I feel like the Kuminga falling on him was just, the cherry on top of all the injuries.
It definitely was a little bit of that for sure. I got to find this report from Woj earlier that kind of explained, what went into the injury. But according to at least the team, the Kuminga fall was kind of like the straw that broke the camel's back. But they were aware that he's been playing through some discomfort. They were aware the knee hasn't been right. This is just me. I would say if you have a guy who's had several nagging knee and back injuries, who's already probably not going to get the MVP, we'll get to that in a second. The only thing that should matter this season is a title. The only thing Embiid's missing on his resume is a title. This team is starved for a title. We haven't had one since the 80s. Don't put him out there to try and win an award. It's title or nothing.
I mean, you could say the team's starved for a title, but the whole city is at this point. Every sport. But, like, it's one of those things where I get it. I saw him limping around the first quarter, and then I was watching the game, and then I was watching on my phone because I was by the TV, and I saw Joel Embiid in for whoever he chucked in for. I was like, you're kidding me.
Yeah.
Like, you're honestly kidding me. Why is he in the game? And then the Kuminga stuff happened like 3 minutes later, and you're like, he already got the award. What more does he have to play for? Just
That's my whole thing. Like,
there's going to be a season where there's too many of these good players that are disqualified for the award. They're going to be like, we have to rethink this because I know Jokic has missed some time. Luke has missed a little bit of time. Embiid's going to miss a lot of time now. Like, those are probably your top 3 MVP candidates right there, and they're all missing time.
yeah, Tyrese Halliburton's another guy who's going to run up against it towards the end of the season. He came out and spoke against it. I'm not a Draymond Green guy. I think I'm not going to get into that. But I think he's just kind of a loose cannon. But even on his podcast, he came out and kind of said, like, no one thought this through. Like, I get what Adam Silver was trying to do and trying to make guys play more. But you also got to look at it from another point of view. Like, so many of these guys have these incentives tied to their contracts.
I was just about to bring that up.
Yeah, MVPs, first team, second team, all defense, whatever you have tied in. So these guys, if they can make an extra, now look, for the big guys that can be, it might not be as important, but for, second or third starters or young guys who are trying to make a name, if they can activate another $1 million incentive, $2 million incentive in their contract, they're going to find a way to drag your ass out there, whether they're healthy or not.
It's more than that. I'm just looking at it because I wanted to make sure, like what kind of the escalators were. Looks like Donovan Mitchell's escalator was worth over $32 million if he makes one of the All NBA teams in like the first 3 seasons in Cleveland, I think.
Really?
So like the escalators are there's you can't have it both ways. You can't say, oh, we're gonna dock him for injury and let him not make the NBA teams, but then you got to take those contract clauses completely out of contracts because you're gonna have guys hurting themselves. You're gonna have guys losing a ton of money. I forget what it was. What was it a couple of years back? I don't know if it's still a thing. Wasn't it if you made like an all rookie team or an all NBA team or an all defensive team in the first like so many years of your rookie contract, you automatically hit an escalator and you could get a super max instead of just a max deal? I don't know if they changed that.
I don't think it went all the way down to like all defense or anything, but I think all NBA did.
It's all NBA then, yeah. That's what it was.
So you're gonna have young guys start their career playing hurt, trying to get that extra money to make an all NBA team. Like,
it's like $50 million over the course of the contract. It's a ton of money. Like,
yeah, it's enough to make you do something stupid like that.
Oh my god, yeah. I mean,
and like I said, I got the point because it was getting out of hand. With and you have people coming to the games to see these stars, and they're taking multiple nights off and not playing back to backs. Like, they had to do something, but I think you're right. If they were going to do what they did and make it games played, then you have to outlaw those escalators in contracts or not tie them to full season awards. I mean, again, it was weird. Paul Reed, I don't know how it came up, but they asked Paul Reed about it, he's fine. He's not going to have to worry about this. He's not making an All-NBA.
I love Paul Reed. Don't get me wrong, but that's such a random person to ask.
Yeah, I don't know how it related to him. But he even said, he was like, I don't remember signing nothing. Like, that's not a part of my contract or anything. Like, we were just told this is how things are this year.
Philly treasure.
Yeah, now, I mean, I don't think the reporter wanted to explain to him how players' unions work and that, they sign on his behalf. But I found it interesting that somebody asked Paul Reed's opinion on an issue that will never affect him.
I love B-ball Paul. I hope it does. I don't get me wrong. I hope it does.
Hey, he put 33 on Jokic's head the other day, so anything's possible.
B-ball Paul is this generation Shake Milton. I feel like we're getting.
I do miss Shake Milton. We could use Shake Milton at the moment. The Sixers without Embiid. What's up?
Isn't he balling on the Timberwolves right now?
Yeah, he's having a nice season. Well, everyone's balling. Timberwolves having a nice year as a whole. I mean, they're number 1 out west. I don't think anybody saw it coming. But yeah, like same thing with every year. This team is just not built to win without Joel Embiid, unfortunately. And it's tough to construct a roster that way when the guy you're built around misses a lot of time. Like, he just does. He's always going to. And we got to find a way to win without him, because I think we're 2-9 this year without Embiid. I mean, the team slipped us. I think we're 29-17 on the season. Like, they play hard without him. They compete,
Right.
but they're just not good enough to win.
I totally agree. It's one of those things where this is where it backfires when we had all those talks about, oh, we love having the squad built like this, and this is the one spot where you just know it's just not going to work out, because if he's gone, if you take him out, there's no one else there to pick up the slack. Obviously, He's probably going to make an All NBA team if Embiid has to miss so much time.
Yeah. I think he will anyway. Maxey should have been an all-star starter. I mean, I don't know if you saw the numbers, but coaches and players had him at number 2 behind only Tyrese Halliburton, which is very fair. Halliburton's been the best guard in the East by a long shot, in my opinion. But then when you factor in the fan vote, you have all which I'm not going to get into this, but you have all these casual fans who have heard of Dame Lillard before, and they're like, oh, well, Dame's in the East now, I got to vote Dame. Dame this season doesn't have the numbers Tyrese Maxey does.
No.
So that whole thing's bullshit.
Who was it that had? Was it Mike? No, it wasn't Mike Moose. It wasn't. It was Zaza Pachulia that had a whole country voting for him every year.
Oh yeah, that's pretty cool.
Good time.
Yeah, so Sixers are sliding at the moment, 2-9 without Embiid. Looking at the trade deadline, nobody big really going to make a move. We've been talking. I feel like we've been talking about DeJounte Murray for months. I don't know what's going to happen there, if anything. That's really the only real big name. Zach LaVine keeps getting thrown out. Not worried about it. Probably not going to happen. But I want to get your take, because you and I think look at sports a little bit differently as far as like analytics and cap money and all go. So the Sixers strategy at the moment, with Embiid having the season that he's having, putting up Wilt type numbers, is to kind of stand pat, make some marginal moves, which I know you and I have agreed with, but to maintain cap flexibility above all else. Now, until this knee injury, my opinion was you have your best player having a Wilt type season. Like, that's how great his season is. If anything is good enough to steer you off that path of saving money, that should be it. Tyrese Maxey became a star, and Embiid's the best basketball player on earth at the moment. Would that be enough to sway you and go, maybe we'll make a couple more aggressive moves this year? Again, not star hunting. We're on the same page there. But spend what needs to be spent to get the key pieces? Or are you still looking at that and going, he might do it again next year, let's keep the flexibility?
See, I'm all on the football mindset. Basketball works a little differently for the cap. Like, I'll go out and study like football cap. I have a book somewhere in my room. I don't know where it is at this point. That's like all about the cap, and it's like 250 some pages long. But as of this, I just think you have to shove a little bit of the chips in. You gotta. It's basically the equivalent of when someone raises, you got to re-raise, but you don't shove the chips. I think that's what the Sixers should have done. I mean, when you have Embiid playing this good, Wilt-like season, I don't know if Wilt dropped 100. I'm still tossed on that.
Mm-hmm.
No footage, no foot. I see these guys dropping 70, and it really gets you thinking. But anyway, you got to be aggressive for some of these high-end role players out there. I mean, I would have loved Buddy Hield on this team, but I know that's too far gone now because Tyrese Halliburton's amazing and Pascal Siakam didn't get dealt.
Yeah.
Or he didn't get dealt in the Pascal Siakam trade. So it's tough. I mean, you have the GM that was all about saving. Then you had a GM that was just like, oh, we're gonna rip it and go for it. And now we fall somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's the thing with Daryl Morey is he was supposed to be aggressive.
He was for his boy, but
that's what it's starting to look like. He's like selectively aggressive.
There's positives and negatives to that. Obviously, wasting Joel Embiid's title window is a big negative.
Yeah. So I want to run a couple of names by it because this is one of my favorite Sixers sources, Sixers Wire, and they did a pretty recent. It's almost a month old now, but it's one of the more recent lists of the top 4 trade candidates for the Sixers. So number 1 on their list, and honestly mine, is Tyus Jones. I love Pat Bev. I'm a big Pat Bev guy. I still think there's a place for him on this team but I would like to have another primary ball handler to run the second unit who's a little bit more capable of a scorer. That's not to say you don't bump Pat down to the 2, or if you use him as defensive specialist here and there, but I would love to see Tyus Jones run the second unit. I don't think he would cost an arm and a leg.
Shouldn't.
He's one that we could probably get, maybe for, we have those seconds. Maybe, you put a couple seconds together. Maybe you move a bench guy to make the money work.
Wizards are bad.
Yeah, they're probably looking to stockpile draft assets and youth. So maybe that's an option. The one I don't see happening and the one I don't want to happen is Alex Caruso. Nothing against Alex Caruso as a player. He's turned himself into a really, really great NBA player. He'll always have a job somewhere. Not here. Chicago treats him like a star player, and I am not, I repeat, not giving up a star player haul for Alex Caruso.
Chicago is something. I kind of observe on this from the outside, but when you have that core of players and that record, you naturally try to deal players for what they're worth, maybe a little less. No, the GM there just says, no, Alex Caruso, you got to give me a Paul George package for him.
Yeah, he looked. I'm sure, I don't know if you've seen the quote, but when teams asked what's it going to take to get Alex Caruso, he said, we view him as a star, and the package should reflect that. And all of a sudden, the trademark of Alex Caruso got ice cold because no one else views him as a star. So I'm good on that. I don't need to give up any first-round picks for Alex Caruso. And then the other 2 are Nets, who, I feel like the Nets have an entire roster of rotation guys. And these are just 2 guys who apparently have fallen out of the rotation at the moment. Dorian Finney-Smith, I wouldn't mind. He could, give you a bump defensively. He can shoot a little bit, but you're really bringing him in for defense, quite honestly. He doesn't start, but he'd be a key role guy. He kind of anchor the second unit.
Let me guess the second guy before you even say anything. Is it Royce O'Neal?
It is Royce O'Neal.
Yeah, I watch my Nets basketball.
Yep. He's exactly what Daryl's looking for. Expiring contract, good shot creator, good enough defense. I wouldn't mind. I don't think he moves the needle a ton, but he's an expiring deal. So if they want to take a flyer on him, why not?
Yeah, I mean, the Nets, I thought they were in like stellar mode like a month ago, and now they're just not. It's really weird. But wasn't there rumors out there that they'd float around Michael? Cam Thomas fell out of the rotation. Like,
it was a nightmare over there.
The Nets are a mess. And now they're somewhat right at the ship. They got the best 5 out there to start. Like, took them.
Well, you know who came back and turned everything around? Mr. Benjamin Simmons. Played one game. He is out tonight with an injury.
Dude, he dropped like a triple-double in like 20 minutes. I couldn't believe it when I saw the stats. I'm like, I looked at it and it was just like 8, 12, and 10. I'm like, you're kidding me.
Yeah. But that's the Ben Simmons experience. You get a glimpse of hope and then he's out. Now I'm going on Saturday and I'm really hoping to see him when he comes back to Philly, but knowing him, he'll be out and he'll duck that one. Or with my luck, neither he nor Embiid will play, and I'd spend all that money on tickets for nothing.
Ooh. Isn't Maxey still out too?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll see. We'll see what the deal with that is. But
hey, I'd spend money on tickets to see B-Ball Paul and Patrick Beverly. I
love B-Ball Paul and Pat Bev. True. You're right. I think they're both going to give. If Simmons does play. Dude, the trash talk that Pat Bev is going to send his way was going to violate the Geneva Convention.
I don't care if Pat Bev gets any minutes if we replace him with someone. He's got to be there, just as a morale guy. He is the morale guy.
Oh yeah, I want him picking up Ben Simmons 82 feet. end to end the whole time.
Oh, you know he would too.
Just in his head.
Oh my, you know he'd full court press him, but up and down the court for full 4 quarters if he had to.
That's what I'm going to ask him to do. That's why that is why you're here.
The whole 48 guard Ben Simmons.
Yeah. This is your Super Bowl, Pat Bev. You put Ben Simmons in a torture chamber for the entire game.
This is why you're on the team.
It is. He's a goon. I mean, I love Pat Bev. He's actually a much more talented basketball player than I expected him to be. But you bring him in to be your enforcer.
Yeah.
Speaking of enforcers, we'll get to the serious part of this in a second. But did you see the absolute unit that we brought in to coach the D-line?
Oh yeah, the guy from Seattle.
This dude is enormous. And I loved his quote when they asked him about dropping the D-line in coverage. And he said, "I don't like seeing big guys go backwards." And I said, "Man, you and I think the same."
Thank goodness. Thank goodness we had a whole, postseason / end of regular season throwing Nick Sirianni under the bus. We could hire these guys.
We'll get to Sirianni because I think he's a lame duck coach, and I think he's really just there to oversee the operation. But man, did they get a group of really solid coordinators?
Yeah, I agree. I kind of like keeping Sirianni now more after what I've seen transpire this offseason. You see, I remember I named Bobby Slowick as my candidate to replace him. He's staying. He didn't get Ben Johnson or anything. He had a little bit of a raise. He's staying in Houston. Ben Johnson just curved Washington, so I'm not worried about Washington anytime soon.
Absolutely, you wanted no parts of that.
They're the only spot left, aren't they?
Yeah, and I don't even know who they go after at this point because
odds have Vrabel going there.
I just think that if he was going to, he would have already. I don't think he wants Washington.
It was Aaron Glenn, the defensive coordinator for Detroit, which I have a Lions fan who I'm really good friends with, and he said, "Bye, Aaron Glenn."
Yeah, they're not known for their defense.
No, their defense improved over the latter half of the season, but still
not to the point where you should get a promotion. I mean, that'd be the same as Brian Johnson taking it. Which, hey, maybe. I mean, he is without a job at the moment.
Yeah, it's a realistic possibility, but we have to go back to Philly here.
Before we do, I want to get your take on something because we were talking about this with a couple of my buddies. One of them asked, why not Frank Reich? And I said that sounds like a Frank Reich decision because you went to Indy, that genuinely didn't work out. Although he made that team better than when he got there. Then you go to Carolina with a dog shit ownership group, get fired within season where nobody could have won. I think if you're Frank Reich, you got to be very careful about where you pick your next move, and you're not going to go from one dysfunctional franchise to another.
I think some time outside of the league will serve him well. That offense in Carolina did Bryce Young absolutely zero favors. He was brought in to be a savior on offense, and to give some stability to a franchise that sorely lacked it and still lacks it to this day. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love the hire of Canales. I hope he gets the most out of Bryce Young. He's gotten the most out of Baker Mayfield this past season. And Geno Smith the season before that. So he's been kind of a QB whisperer out there. But
I don't think it matters who you hire if you're Carolina. I mean, I'm definitely a little bit partial to Frank Reich because of who he brought the Super Bowl, and I'll never forget that. But I don't think nobody could have won with that Carolina team. I don't care who coaches it. You're so devoid of talent that nobody could have won. I mean, DeMeco Ryans did more with less in Houston than I think anybody thought possible. I don't even think he turns Carolina around in a season. Now, that's also not to say that Frank Reich crushed it. I think you're right. I mean, Bryce Young's development was pretty startling that there really wasn't any. But
he teased up the Packers at the end of the season. I love how that's just left out of everyone's minds because now that the Packers went on that little run there and almost beat the Niners.
Mm-hmm.
Bryce Young threw for over 300, I believe. DJ Chark had 2 touchdowns and 100 yards. It was a mess.
Yeah, but I don't know. I think you're right. Maybe a year out of the league, or he might just be one of those guys who's just a coordinator. Like that might just be something that he's good at. Like Jim Schwartz, Steve Spagnuolo. Like there's guys who are maybe Eric Bieniemy. Like there's just guys who are great coordinators, and just leave it at that. Speaking of great coordinators, I think we got two. I'm a little bit more on the fence on offense.
I was gonna say the same thing. So like we're thinking the same here.
Kellen Moore had some high-flying, high-scoring Dallas offenses that got stale as the year went on, and people were able to game plan for him. He's also not known as being a fan of the run, which is a shame because we built this offensive line to be the most dominant run-producing offensive line. So somebody in the building is going to have to steer him towards running the ball more. But as far as the passing game goes and the route tree that you see that they ran in LA, I think that A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith are going to feast.
The what is it? The Amazon or
the AWS stats,
the
where you can
AWS
see
Next Gen stats graphs. Oh my God, it looks so
Dude,
much better.
You could see. I mean, there was a variety of routes. They're working in the middle of the field. They're working between the hashes. And then you look at the Brian Johnson routes, and they're all roughly just 8-yard outs over and over and over and over. So, I mean, I'm happy with the hire. I think we'll be better on offense. We'll be more creative for sure. As long as Nick has some kind of a voice and can still advocate for the run, I think we'll be in good shape. Defense is the home run, though, right? I mean, getting Vic Fangio is enormous.
Getting the guy that actually, that you based your scheme off of, kind of.
Yeah, we've had two Fangio disciples, right? Gannon was from the Fangio School of Defense. So was Desai. But now you get the actual guy. Although, Desai is what it is. We'll see if that was a talent issue or a coaching issue. As much as we all hated Gannon in the moment, that defense set an Eagles record for sacks.
Dude, he did an impressive job in Arizona as well. So, we were hating for.
He might be a good coach.
He might be a good. He had that Arizona team beat some teams it shouldn't have.
He had them believing, and you could tell that they never stopped believing. So he might be a good football coach. We might just be haters on that one. Wouldn't be the first time, won't be the last.
No,
but I still think Fangio is going to bring us back to. I think it might be better than that Gannon season, depending on the on-the-field product, depending on what these vets still have left in the tank. Do Darius Slay and James Bradbury remember how to play their respective positions? Is Bradbury on the team? There's a lot of questions still.
You're drafting corner. I wouldn't. If they double dipped at corner with premium picks, I wouldn't care. I'd just be like, this is great.
I wouldn't double dip at corner. I mean, you're getting a corner. Don't get me wrong. You got to get it. As much as I like Keely Ringo and Eli Ricks, you got to get somebody with a little bit more pedigree that can hopefully start year one. But that you can't we can't double dip at any position, in my opinion. We're so thin at linebacker. We're old as shit on the D line, and you need a corner.
We'll know by then if you could double dip or not. With how we work in his cap magic, and maybe getting a couple of key depth signings here or there, we'll see.
That's true. But
we do have that extra second. That's why I'm saying the double dip. We do have that extra second from New Orleans.
But I know you said it just because it's just the phrasing and all. But if we do another savvy vet signing or another quick one hitter deal at middle linebacker, I'm gonna pull my hair out. We need to invest at linebacker.
I remember the last team that had a savvy veteran signing and ignored the position in the draft. Look at Detroit. Cam Sutton. They wanted him. You should see Detroit fans. They want that man gone. He was getting toasted all season, it felt like.
I know,
at least by them.
I couldn't help but watch Roquan Smith and Patrick Queen blow up plays in Baltimore. Then you go watch the 49ers and their tandem of great linebackers. Even KC, you have Drew Tranquill playing that rover position. That's been a big thing. These teams just have really strong linebacking cores. Then you look at us, and we truly just have whoever's left.
I mean, Detroit, even though he wasn't necessarily great. They spent a first round pick on a linebacker.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah. Anzalone was strong. Who's the other one? Rodrigo kind of came and gone in and out.
He was a fullback.
Who?
He played fullback too.
Milano?
No.
Not Milano. Rodrigo. Really?
Yeah, they had to play a fullback.
Oh, I never knew that.
Yeah, they had him on offense a couple times during the season.
That's pretty cool. But yeah, I need at least a B linebacker.
See, what worries me is how he's going to go back to his basics and draft offensive line or D line again, and please God no.
You see, he could go that way, which I don't think is the right answer either, or he could go worse. Because remember, Howie just figured out how to draft best available. I don't need him to go back to drafting for need.
I don't know if you keep up with mock drafts, but I got to look at the one real quick. But Daniel Jeremiah, he's really plugged in, all the GM stuff he worked in the NFL front offices. He was just taking a tackle around one. So
let me see.
Tackle from Oklahoma to eventually replace Lane Johnson.
Do you have the list in front of you?
Of the mock drafts?
Yeah.
I just got to look at the other one because there's only 2 or 3 out that are big name, worked in NFL office. I'll see who they're taking in this one, but I'm sure it was Tyler Guyton in the Daniel Jeremiah one. Let me scroll through here real quick. Where are we at?
Yeah, because the one I found is way too long for me to be able to figure out.
I just don't remember what pick we're at.
Oh, wait, hold on. I think I found one that he posted on NFL.com.
That's probably the one. I just don't remember where we pick. If I'm being honest.
Scroll. I do too. I'm just going to scroll until I hit our logo. Although I thought it'd be higher.
Well, there's only names in this one. I think we traded this pick in this mock draft, if I'm being honest.
Out of the first round entirely?
Unless I just can't read, which is very possible.
No, I'm looking at one too, and I don't see us in the first round at all. But here it is. Yeah, he has us at 22 taking Tyler Guyton at Oklahoma.
Yeah, this one just does not have us in the first round, I guess. Or does it have us at 32? Oh, it has us at 32 taking a tackle. We're not picking 32, but still the point stands that these mock drafts have us taking tackles.
Which obviously not a fan. Because if we take a tackle there, sorry, go ahead.
You get best player available, you draft a tackle in round one if one of these premium guys kind of falls a little bit, but premium offensive tackles don't fall at all. People go up and get them. Broderick Jones. Well, the Jets got sniped last year by the Steelers. You go up to get these guys. They don't magically fall into the 20s or God forsaken, they play rugby and fall to the 6th round,
Well, so you'll find the explanation as to why you take Tyler Guyton is the Eagles need to start planning for the end of Lane Johnson's career. I mean, look, Lane Johnson is getting older for sure, but he's not Jason Kelce. We're not year to year with Lane Johnson yet, I don't think. He's 34. You probably have at least 2 more seasons of Lane. I know under contract we do. So that's not a first round issue this time around. If you're taking him at 22, here's who you're not taking after that. Cooper DeJean, corner. He's not real high on my list personally.
He's a dog.
That's not.
Watch the film. He's a dog. I swear.
He is. But for me, Kool-Aid McKinstry they have going to San Francisco. I actually like him a lot for the Eagles. I wouldn't mind going with him. I'm not. What do you think about Nate Wiggins? I'm not stoked about him, but
I'm not. I feel like I would if they put that pick in and I was sitting there on draft day and that got announced, I'd be like, okay, B- kind of deal. I think he has upside. I'd be okay with it. It's more so with where we're picking, and if he's picked there, I would like the value compared to everywhere else on the board.
That's true. My only thing with him is when you watch, and I haven't watched a lot of his tape. I've probably watched, I don't know, a couple highlight reels and stuff. He's not a great tackler. And we already have Darius Slay who's not interested in tackling. So you would like for one of your two corners to be at least somewhat helpful in run support or in the screen game.
Then you'd love Cooper DeJean.
I admittedly didn't watch a lot of Iowa this year.
He's a dog, trust me. He would be an instant fan favorite in Philly, just the way he plays football.
Well, this mock draft has him available, so I'll take your word for it if we want him.
That's what just scares me, though. As we get closer to the draft, we'll start hearing a little more inklings. After the combine, we'll really get an idea of where these GMs are leaning, who's going where. I don't remember how long it took, but everyone heading into draft night that one year, you're like, oh, Jamar Chase is going to be a Bengal. Oh, Kyle Pitt's going to be a Falcon. Oh, what's going to be the pick at 3? Oh, Zach Wilson's 2. Trevor Lawrence is 1. And you knew that heading in there. That's how it was going to be, especially the trade ups, though.
Yeah,
we could see that this year. There's 3 quarterbacks that I think could go top 5. So, which is so down to Philly. So,
yeah, I mean, I'm A-okay with that, but it's just, dude, I'm just thinking, when you look back, and then we'll end it on this one because we're talking about the draft and how we draft him with his roots. Kyle Hamilton would be such a great Eagle. And that's not to say that Jordan Davis isn't going to round into form and be a very good player. But Kyle Hamilton would be such a great Eagle.
That is NFL and position valuation, my friend.
It's also, I'm sure you remember that draft. He was getting dragged for his combine performance.
It was a 40 time.
Yeah.
Was it a 4.6, 4.7?
Yeah, it was not good.
I was still in on Kyle Hamilton at that point. And Brian Branch last year would have been a slam dunk at 32. So,
yeah,
you draft these good players. I don't care if they play safety; they're good football players. It's not like you're taking a safety top 5 or something. You're taking them 15 or back into the first round. I mean,
yeah, and also watch the tape. The combine's important, but watch the tape. Kyle Hamilton was a stud at Notre Dame. 3-year starter, just an absolute troublemaker in the secondary. All that went out the window, and people saw the 40 time. And all he's done since he's gotten to the league has been that same playmaker in the secondary for an already great Baltimore defense. So I just don't get how you can talk yourself out of a guy who's that obviously supremely talented.
Yeah, I mean, it just happens to teams with positions. You see it with guards, you see it with safeties, you see it with linebackers. Elite talent just falls through the cracks only because teams just don't value the position.
Well, Howie's got to look at this. Look at what happened last year and start buying linebacker and start buying your next corner because the clock's ticking. It's really up on both those position groups. And speaking of the clock ticking, our clock is ticked and we're just about out of time here on the Pattison Report. We'll see you next week, hopefully with a healthy Embiid and a clear idea on the Eagles' future. But until then, I'm Brandon. That's Ryan. We'll see you next week.